Welcome to the Ellis Insight analysis of the Colorado redistricting system. The Colorado Independent Redistricting Commission has already released 3 congressional maps, reflecting an 8th district now in the delegation. Reapportionment added 1 seat to the Colorado delegation. These maps are all 8-district maps. The first map is the preliminary commission map by the members. The succeeding 2 are from the Redistricting Commission staff, which actually has quite a bit of power under this new Colorado redistricting system. The Commission is operating under a tight time frame. Under the initiative that was enacted, the Commission must complete its work by September 28th. At that point, the map goes to the Colorado State Supreme Court for verification and final approval, and that process must conclude by December the 15th. So by the end of the year, the Colorado map will be in place for the coming decade. With that, let's take a look at the 3 maps and then concentrate on the second staff map, which is really the map in play right now. The first one that's before you is the preliminary commission map. The purple one there, up in the northern part of the state, just north of Denver, is the new 8th district. This map is unofficially dead. This would have been a very good map for the Republicans here because if you look at the county of Pueblo there in the southern part of the state, that would have switched from District 3, which can be a marginal seat at some points, to District 4, which is safe Republican. This would have ensured freshman Congressman Lauren Boebert with a very safe Western Slope Republican district. Based upon input from public hearings, the staff created the second map, and those hearings were requesting kind of a southern tier district that hasn't existed before. The traditional cut for the western part of the state has been what they call the Western Slope seat, the western slope of the Rocky Mountains. And that cut always has gone from the Wyoming border to the New Mexico border and as far west as the Utah border. So that's the traditional Western Slope seat. The second map changed that. And what they did is they drew the second district, that green one you see there on the map, which is Congressman Joe Neguse. That starts in Boulder and then runs all the way to Utah. Now, what this map did was actually pair Congresswoman Boebert and Congressman Neguse into the second district. They placed her home in Garfield County in the second district. However, as you can see, her third district, the Auburn-colored seat, is intact. And even if she didn't move, she could certainly still run in the third district, which was a decent Republican seat even under this map. And now we move to the second staff map. And this is the map that's really going to be in play for now, and the one that we are going to analyze today. As you can see, this map restores the Western Slope to its traditional draw, again from Wyoming to New Mexico and as far west as the Utah border. The Neguse or green seat there gets smaller. Neguse and Boebert are no longer paired. They both have their own district now. And I think this is the working map. This is by no means the final map at this point, but this is the working map. And as you can see, there are the 8 districts. The purple one north of Denver is the new seat. That's the 8th district. We have the green is Joe Neguse, as I mentioned, the Auburn, Lauren Boebert in the 3rd district. That brown seat in the middle of the state, that's the Ed Perlmutter seat, the 7th district. That has changed greatly, and we'll talk a lot about that. El Paso County now, Colorado Springs, is bigger than a congressional district, and the new 5th is fully contained for the first time within El Paso County. Then we go up and we see the 6th district, the orange one, that is a wraparound on the eastern part of Denver, which is Jason Crow. The yellow district is the Denver City district of Diana DeGette. So that's the basic part of the map. Let's go through these districts one by one and determine how the members will fare under these new lines. The first district here you see, the statistics for is the 1st district, the Denver seat of Congresswoman Diana DeGette. This has always been a safe Democratic seat. It continues to be so under this particular map. In fact, it gets a little bit better. And what the commission did, which was a very good thing, they went back and looked at 8 different campaigns over the years and the results of those elections. And then they put them together in an aggregate to give us an idea of where these districts would lie from a political perspective. In this case, the 8-district aggregate gives DeGette a Democratic margin of 57.1. This is even bigger than what she currently has. As you notice, the Democratic registration in that district would gain 3 points from the current district, and Joe Biden received 75.6%. So this becomes a very safe district for Diana DeGette. The second district is the one we mentioned, Congressman Neguse. I think he's going to like this one a lot better. Now, he loses some of his eastern part of the district to the new 8th, so therefore that does push him out a little bit more west, but it doesn't take him all the way to Utah and pick up a lot more conservative voters, which he wouldn't have liked, particularly on the gun issue. And I'm sure he complained about that other draw, as did Boebert, as did the party, as did the people on the western slope. So this district, it becomes, again, a bolder, anchored seat for Neguse, and his Democratic margin factor would be 33.8, almost 34. As you can see, Democratic registration would go up almost 5 points over what he has now, and he has now a secure district. So let's look at Lauren Boebert's 3rd district of the western slope. Joe Biden would have gotten 46.1%, or did get 46.1% in the 2020 election in that district. This actually gives her a little bit more than that. Again, we restore the traditional western slope draw from Wyoming to New Mexico. This would come in as almost a 10-point Republican seat. This should be more than enough for her to get reelected. Democratic registration stays even, and Republican registration up just a tick over what it currently is. So realistically, in terms of the 3rd district, which has generally performed well as a Republican seat, this district gets a little bit better for her. On the 4th district, Ken Buck, the eastern Colorado seat has always been the safe seat for the Republicans. It continues to be so. And you would see an almost 27-point Republican margin on the 8-race aggregate for Ken Buck. Democratic registration would actually drop over 2.5 points based on the current numbers today. So safe seat for Ken Buck again. The Colorado Springs seat, as I mentioned now, it is now for the first time fully contained within El Paso County, which is now bigger than a congressional district. So Doug Lamborn again gets a safe Republican seat, as you notice, R plus 20.2. This is akin to what he has now. He has had Republican primary problems in the past, and he certainly could have so again in this new district, but a general election seat, this would be a safe seat for the Republicans. Jason Crow, you might remember back in 2018, Jason Crow unseated then Congressman Mike Hoffman, who is now actually the mayor of Aurora in this district. This seat would again be anchored in Arapahoe County, with the cities of Aurora and Centennial being the major population base. This seat gets much better than the current 6th district for Jason Crow. His Democratic aggregate would increase to over 15. As you notice, the Democratic registration goes up 2 points, Republican registration down 2 points. So this gives Jason Crow a better Democratic seat that wraps around the eastern part of Denver. Now, in the 7th and the 8th district is where this map gets very interesting, because this is where the big change comes from, and this is where the new seat goes into the central part of the state, right around Denver. Ed Perlmutter currently has a district that Joe Biden carried with 60% of the vote. He would not have that under this map. Now, the Perlmutter seat did get better on the 2nd staff map when compared to the 1st, which he would not have been happy with, and I'm sure he complained over that map as well. But this map would give Perlmutter just a 6-point Democratic seat. It makes it somewhat competitive. It's certainly way more competitive than what he has now, and it's more rural. So he does keep his main population center of Arvada where he lives, but the Arvada-Westminster corridor there north of Denver, which proved to be his entire political base, has been split. He lives in Arvada, so Arvada goes to the 7th district, but those other cities, along with Greeley, make up now the 8th district. So this changes the Perlmutter district greatly, and he has a much more rural, kind of a western Colorado seat here with the city of Lakewood in Jefferson County, which is still his anchor, and he moves to the west and more rural area. So this makes it somewhat more competitive for him. He would still be the favorite in a D+6 district, but it's much worse than what he had. As you can notice, Democratic registration drops 4.5%, and Republican registration is up 5%. So we're talking about almost a 10-point swing towards the Republicans, at least in voter registration, in this new district. So Ed Perlmutter, probably not too happy with this map either. But it is clear from all three of the maps that the new district is going to go in this same general area, which is north of Denver and the meanders a little bit into the northeast of the city. It does affect Perlmutter more than any of the other sitting members. So this seat becomes more competitive for Ed Perlmutter. Let's look now at the new 8th district. Again, it is, as I mentioned, north of the city of Denver and kind of moves a little bit to the northeast after that. Westminster, Thornton, Greeley are the three major cities there. We don't have a Biden number because this district did not exist in 2020. The 8-race aggregate number for this seat is just under D+4. So in an open configuration, particularly if it's a good Republican year, the Republicans could have a chance to grab this district, and that would be a huge plus for them. I think right now it looks like it would lean towards the Democrats. So I think what we have in this map, and as you notice, the registration favors them a little bit, basically 29 to 25, about a 4-point swing in favor of the Democrats, but not unwinnable for a strong Republican candidate. So what I think we've got here is probably a map that would go in most elections 5 Democrats, 3 Republicans, which would be a gain of 1 seat nationally for the Democrats with that new open seat. However, I think most people are looking at this map as 4 Democrats, 3 Republicans, and 1 swing seat. And that could prove to be what actually happened. So we have an interesting Colorado map here. I think we'll see more competition in this state, particularly in the central part of the state, definitely in the new seat and possibly for Perlmutter. Lauren Boebert, I think, probably comes out pretty well if this were the final map. Again, it is likely not. There is now another round of public hearings where people will have input. The commission will meet, and they must pass something out by September 28th. They must do so, the 12 commission members, by a supermajority. That means 8. So they have 8 votes out of the 12 members for a map to move to the Supreme Court. If they can't arrive at a map that does that, then, and this is where the power of the commission staff comes into play, the staff map then moves directly to the state Supreme Court for its approval and either acceptance or rejection. So that's where the staff is actually very important in this process. And you've seen what they have developed, and that's why I think we're using that second staff map as the working map. So we'll see by the end of the month exactly how Colorado comes out. Right now, I think it's 5 Democrats, 3 Republicans, with 1 shaky seat and possibly 2. Thank you for your interest and attention, and we look forward to coming back to you as other states come into play.